Testing, testing. You hear me okay?
Testing. Yeah, I can hear you okay.
Awesome. My audio is actually still kind of low. Let me adjust that.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Business Breakdown Podcast, episode 25. Today, we're joined by King Shuk Banajri, founder of Start Your Finances Right. Coming to us from the great state of Texas, King Shuk is on a mission to help immigrants optimize their finances and thrive in the United States. We're getting into the strategies for long-term success in America, unique financial challenges for newcomers, navigating the U.S. financial system, and a custom 8-week program. Whether you're a recent immigrant or planning to move, this episode is packed with game-changing insights. Quick community shout out, join our Facebook group at facebook.com/group/finance for individuals and businesses for more exclusive resources and networking. We'll see you there. King Shuk, welcome. How you doing, man? Good to
Good, good.
finally have you
Thank
on.
you, Ryan. Yeah, thanks for having me in your
It's
podcast.
how many times have we tried this? How many times have I had technical difficulties? What,
It's,
2 or 3
it's
times
part
now?
of the game. Yes, probably
Yeah,
twice. But
yeah.
finally, we are here. So that's good.
So, so what really interested me in what you do is that your niche is are immigrants.
Mhm.
Not a lot of people are always trying to help that demographic. So it's always cool to see and cool to hear the story and kind of how all that starts. So, what made you get into wanting to do that, to find that niche, to find that demographic and target finance?
Yeah, actually, when I started the financial coaching business in 2022, so I was looking, or initially I was dabbling with other niches. Then I realized that, okay, why not start where I had the biggest challenge? That means I came to the US in 2017 and I faced a lot of uncertainties because I was coming here at a later stage in life where there were a lot of financial obligations to meet. There was a new government, so there were a lot of immigration laws that were changing. Then my in my career also, like my company got acquired, so there was a big change there. And I think this is pretty much the story for a lot of immigrants nowadays. And because of the other a lot of opportunities in India and some of those countries, people do not move early enough. They are moving later in their life, right?
Right.
And so that kind of increases the amount of challenges, because the later you move, you have more financial obligations, financial challenges,
Yeah.
and it's a big change for this thing. So I have lived through this change, and thankfully, in the last 5 to 7 years, because of my interest in finances and also like developing those strategies, I have reached that state of financial abundance. So I thought that, okay, that's a good way to start, where I can help people whom I already understand what they are going through. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that was really the reason for choosing this niche.
So, um, you're saying that that's awesome, by the way. That's cool.
Mhm.
So I'm just curious. One of my first questions that came to mind is whenever you said that people can't move here soon enough, does that mean the demographic of immigrants that usually comes from India are younger individuals, or is it more middle aged, or do you know what
It's
that
a
looks like?
Yeah, it's a mixture. And earlier, what used to happen is there used to a lot of young immigrants who used to come. So early in life, like you do your studies, higher studies in the US, and then automatically you become an immigrant, right? But nowadays, because of a lot of opportunities in India, people stay there for a decade or so, and then at a stage in life when their children wants to do higher studies, that's when they move along with their children. Or let's say in their career, maybe they are reaching a plateau in India. Now the next level is they have to. So there's this new trend also, where I've seen from my colleagues and friends a lot of people who moved later in life, and that has its unique challenges. Then rather than if you are starting from scratch here when you did not have so many responsibilities.
Right. And you moved here whenever you had responsibilities. When did you move to the States?
So I moved in 2017. I worked in
Yep.
India for almost 20 years, and
Yep.
I was really pretty well settled there, financially well settled. And so when I moved to US, suddenly I realized that my financial state has to change now, because the financial goals are different. The benchmark is different. The US financial system is very different. So that's where I kind of had to start my finances from scratch, even though I had a good foundation in India.
Right. Now, when someone comes to the US, what are their
Mhm.
first couple bigger challenges that they face?
Yeah, so some of the big challenges are, like, some of them are usual. Of course, you have to buy a car, you have to rent a place initially, right? And then if you are coming in with a family, then after some time, possibly most of them will aspire to buy a home. And then the next challenge comes is, if your children are, let's say, in middle school or very close to college, then you have to also save up for the college savings if you don't want to burden them
Yep.
with a lot of student debt, right? And then your own retirement. So if you are moving, let's say, in your middle age, then you have a shorter runway to retire in the US. That means you have to save up. You don't have like $1 million saved up in your 401k, right? You are almost
Yeah.
starting from
Right.
zero. Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You
those
come
are the typical financial challenges I see today.
Yeah.
Right.
You come here, you're pretty much starting from zero
Yeah.
again. You gotta
Correct. Yes.
find your way.
Yes.
Um, now,
The other challenge is also that your immigration status is uncertain for certain time till you get your green card and permanent residency. So a lot of long term financial decisions are also very tricky to make at that point, right? Because you don't know how your immigration status will change, and whether you need to go back, or you are going to finally stay in the US. So I've seen a lot of dilemma around that area in making long term decisions.
what happens if you have an investment here in the
Mhm.
US and then you lose your immigration status?
Yeah, you can go back to
Still
India,
be
and
fine,
depends
right?
on, yeah, it should be fine, ideally, and depends on, like, let's say if all your investments are in 401k, then you cannot withdraw it without penalty and taxes.
Right,
So
right.
so sometimes you have to plan flexibly, that okay, you don't put all your money into something that gets locked up till you are 59 and a half
Yeah.
years of age,
Okay.
right? So you have to plan for those flexibilities. uh,
So
yes.
you talked about coming here and kind of being unaware of immigration status and what that actually looks like. And because
Mhm.
of that, people don't really plan for the long term. Um,
Yeah.
how how do you help clients kind of overcome that mindset that's it's pretty much a scarcity mindset?
Yes, that is true. So that's why in my process, we first take a stock of their finances, like where they are starting from, and sometimes it even involves looking at what they have in India, right? Whether they do desire to bring some part of that money here, and help start their finances, or let's say put some of it into buying a home or not. And then we also look at their, like, I also discuss with them at a much deeper level, that what are their goals, what are they trying to do, I mean, how long they intend to stay in the US, or do they want to, are they looking at it as a long term, right? What their family's goals are. And once we figure all of these out, then we can design the right financial architecture for them. That, so it's not a, like, just a one size fits all, it's kind of very customized to
Yeah,
each
no, I'm
person's,
sure.
right?
And I'm sure a lot of the questions that you ask, they don't even think about, they haven't even thought about
Correct. Yes.
themselves. So it's definitely a unexplored territory for a lot of people
Correct.
who
Yes.
come to the US.
Yes.
But yeah, it's definitely kind of tricky to go around. Now, whenever they come to the US from India or from wherever, how
Mhm.
does the US financial system differ from other countries like India the most?
Yeah, I think it's a much more evolved financial system. Of course, India and some of those emerging countries are have evolved a lot in the last 10 years or so in their financial systems, and in some cases they are better, like some of the payment systems and all in India nowadays are better. But still it's a big change when you move here. The amount of investment options you have, the other things, like even let's say buying a home, is much more structured and much, I would say, there is a very well defined process here, right, which is not so much in the emerging countries. So it is definitely like a much broader financial system in the US, and
Yeah.
that's why you have a lot of choices, and that increases the confusion, because when you have so many choices, then you hear all the different marketing, like, I should not call it noise, but all the different marketing, uh, like the marketing news and things that are coming your way, and it's very difficult to decide where to start from, right?
Yeah.
Which investments to choose. Are you going to use real estate as your investment portfolio, or are you going to use this thing? uh, but more so about choosing, because I don't choose the investments for them. I'm not an investment professional, but at
Yep.
least looking at their goals and see, okay, what are your goals, time horizon, and where you should partition your money accordingly. So that
Yeah.
initial financial setup is very important, and US gives a very broad choice to you to even start correctly.
Do you want to explain the difference between kind of what you do and what a financial advisor would do?
Yeah, sure. So my goal is to actually create a good foundation for my client. It's like, if you are, let me give you this analogy. If you are building a home, let's say you have a plot of land, and you are starting from scratch, right? Your first, this thing will not be that you go and like talk to an electrician, or go and buy your interior decoration stuff. The first thing you will start with is an architecture, that, okay, what kind of home you are trying to build, how many rooms it will have. So in the same analogy, I look at the person's goals and figure out, okay, how you should allocate your finances, your current resources, as well as your incoming cash flow, that every month how much are you spending, how much is left over, how you should use it to fund your goals. And then once you have your long term goals or these things set up, that, okay, I have this $50,000 that I want to put towards my retirement, that's when you will go to an investment advisor and say, okay, suggest me the right investments for putting this, so that my retirement projections are much more realistic, right? So that way I'm kind of complementary to the other professionals, like an investment professional or a realtor or a lender, that you do your homework first with me, for the client, and then you go to these investment professionals who can help you know that, okay, this part of the money should be invested for the long term. And
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. That's definitely a good difference.
right.
And I do think you need both,
Yes.
especially if you have no idea kind of what's going on, especially coming to a completely different country, trying to learn about finances. What are some common, I get misconceptions? What are some common misconceptions about finances that immigrants have?
So I think one that I have seen is people start their investments in a random way. That, let's say, I come in here, I have some extra money, so I'll just buy some individual stocks because I hear about Nvidia going up. And most
Right.
people, and including I, have done that mistake also, right? Without really connecting it to your goals. And when you start from your goals and then make your investments, it will be much more meaningful, that you know that, okay, this is my retirement money, so I will then, maybe you can go and do those risky stocks because you have a longer time horizon. And some of the misconceptions kind of come from there, that in the US financial system, there are a lot of things, like I have talked to client who say, okay, for my child's education I want to start saving, right? Now you
Yeah.
can save in a mutual fund, you can save in an index fund, you can use a 529 account.
Yeah.
And
That's a good one.
so yes, so and sometimes some people know about 529 accounts, some people do not know about that.
Real quick, what's
So
a 529?
so 529 is a college savings account where you get tax benefits. So you contribute after taxes, but all the growth that happens in that account, you can withdraw it tax free if you are using it for qualified education purposes.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good for
Hmm.
education and everything. Um,
Right. Yes.
children's education. That's what it was designed for. But no, that's 529 is a good one
Yeah.
for sure.
The
But
other misconception. Sorry. Go
yeah,
ahead. Yeah.
say that
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, the other confusion I saw is about buying a home, because buying a home can become a very emotional decision, right, for most
Yeah,
people. And it's always very tricky that how much home do you buy. I mean, if you go to a lender and say, okay, how much mortgage can I afford based on my gross salary, it's a much more inflated number, or it's a very positive number. But the lender does not know about your other financial goals. He
right.
or she is looking at just your assets and making sure that, okay, this guy can make the payments, right? That's all they care about. But
Yeah,
for yourself, you have to look at your other financial goals, and make sure that you buy a home which fits nicely into your financial picture, and you don't kind of become like house rich cash poor kind of situation, right? So that's what I also help my clients with, so that they avoid those kind of situations where they buy the right amount of home, and also have enough liquidity in the current economic situation. Sometimes, I mean, you may not be very confident about your job. You're like, there are so many layoffs happening in the technology industry today, right? So what is your liquidity situation? How many months can you, something which we called emergency fund now. A lot of financial experts just say, okay, have 3 months to 6 months, but that's just a rule of thumb, right? Depending on your financial situation, you may be good with just 1 month of cash, or you may require, let's say, 1 year or 2 years of cash also. It all depends on your situation.
yeah.
Then
What kind of issues
hmm,
do you see with immigrants trying to purchase homes?
I think there are no issues. It's just that the home purchase has to be a systematic financial decision rather than an emotional decision,
Right.
right? Otherwise, I think if you can afford the mortgage, if you can afford, the other thing is that it's not the mortgage alone. I mean, you have to look at the property taxes, the insurance, and also the recurring cost once you become a homeowner. So some people also miss that. They think that, okay, if I can just fit the mortgage and the property tax and insurance, that's my cost. But the real cost is also there, the maintenance, depending on what kind of home you are buying, right?
Yeah.
And also what effect does it have on rest of your finances, right? Now that you are moving from renting to home, you have to take into account all these other phantom costs. And the second thing is,
Utility
what
needs,
is, yeah, what
maintenance.
is your maintenance here? And the other thing is that if you are really want to be smart about it, and you know that you'll be moving out in the next 5 years or 7 years, then what is your long term plan for that home? Are you going to sell it off, because, or are you going to convert it into a rental property? These two are very different decisions, and the
Yeah.
kind of home that you will buy, right?
Do you find a lot of uh, I guess immigrants, one of their first couple of purchases, instead of a home, they get a rental property instead, or do they usually just get a home first?
Most of them get a home first, because I think, yes, the it's from the culture that we come in, a home is considered a very financially stable decision.
Okay.
And right, yeah, although it may not be the best decision all the time, but I think what I've seen is, before buying rental properties, people first buy their primary home.
Yeah, no, it's definitely preference.
Right. Correct.
It's definitely preference, but I was
Hmm.
just curious because it's common for a landlord to live in an apartment and still have a bunch of homes, or
Yeah.
even uh, have investment interest in multifamily
Hmm.
properties,
Yeah.
just because they don't want to have to deal with the yard and all that stuff themselves.
Right. Yes.
Um,
Yes.
but yeah, um, man, that's cool. That's cool. Tell me about a success story that you've had recently with one of your clients.
Yes, so I had several success stories. So one of my clients recently, so he had good amount of savings, and we were kind of discussing about his financial goals, and one of his biggest goals was that he didn't want his children to take any kind of student loan. So he was saving up for their education,
Mm,
and in the process, what he was doing was, he also needed to travel back to India very frequently because of his parents' health situation. and also the family aspiration. So he was having a scarcity mindset on that side, that if I give this $10,000, right, and let me just travel alone and not take my family, because I want to reduce cost here. And it was kind of just a priority as well as a scarcity mindset thing.
Right.
So after the coaching call, then within an hour he sent me a text and he said, okay, you've given me so much clarity that I just booked the tickets for my family with that. So even though it's a small thing, it's the mindset shift that happens
Yeah.
in that coaching process, right? I said, yeah, you can do both. I mean, you are saving good amount of money for your kids, that's good, but at the same time you have other financial goals that you should not kind of sacrifice, right? Those are also very important in this thing. A similar story was with another client. I mean, she had quite a bit of credit card debt, but she also had this variable income because she's a realtor, so she gets paid whenever she can sell a home. And with that cash that she had, so either she had to pay the credit card bill, or the other thing was, there was like in another month it was Christmas time, so she wanted her son to come back home. And she was again kind of under this dilemma: should I pay off my credit card, or should I buy the ticket for my son to come home, because she really wanted to sponsor the ticket.
Right.
And and after some kind of rearrangement, we finally made both of them. She paid off most of her credit card, as well as she had $1,000 for her son to come home. So
Good for
later,
her.
yeah, so that was another good win.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
so this is the main thing basically about making these small financial decisions, keeping in mind your medium term and long term goals, that you don't get blindsided on one side, because money is a tool. It's all about living the good life, right? You don't want to be so
Yeah,
stuck up with money uh, that you suffer in your other areas, right?
for sure. For sure. And whenever you bring on clients,
Hmm.
what's kind of your process for, I guess, the assessment, or what's your
Yeah.
onboarding process?
Yes, so my onboarding process is, first I do a 15 to 20 minutes what I call a Q&A call. Is I try to understand that what they are going through, what they are asking for help. I mean, what are their challenges with their finances. Okay,
Yep.
and in some cases, people came with challenges like, okay, I just want a structured view of my finances, and there are so many things going on in my life that I'm not able to get a handle on my finance. That's an easier thing to handle.
Hmm.
Whereas there could be things like, where, let's say, I had one client who was in a very good position in his company. He had good cash flow. He was earning a lot of money, but at the same time, he was also in a lot of debt. So he was kind of in a panic situation, that I'm very close to retirement, and even though I earn well, seems like I'm not able to manage my money. So I look at the specific challenge, that if I can help with that challenge, right? But if somebody comes to me with saying that, okay, just help me invest, or I'm looking for a portfolio of investments today, that's not my lane. So in that case, I'll probably refer them or help them to with the CFPs that I know, with whom I have worked with. So they are
Yeah.
probably more of an investment client, right? Yeah. So in that 15 minutes call, yeah, 15 to 20 minutes, I try to figure out that if I can help them, then the next onboarding is, we do a discovery call, which is, I collect their financial data, and we go through their goal setting and this thing. For that's about an hour's call. And after that, we move to this 8 week process, where this is a 4 step process in over 8 weeks, where I go over their, like, designing their financial system, making all the helping them make the changes, and then set up the flow. And okay.
Talk about the beginning of the 8-week course, or the
Yeah,
eight.
so
Is it a course, or what do you call it?
it's not a course, it's a program. It's a
Program. So
eight
8-week
week
program.
program
Okay.
of 4 steps here, broken down into 4 steps. And the first step is what I call a financial reboot. That means I look at your entire financial picture, and I do some kind of a SWOT analysis. I mean, SWOT analysis is
Oh yeah.
strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, right?
Right.
So if you, let's say, have good amount of savings, that may be a good strength for you. If you have a lot of debt, it's a weakness. And sometimes there are opportunities that you are not taking advantage of today, or the client does not even know of those opportunities. And threats could be that in the kind of industry you are in, maybe your your job is not so stable, right? That could be a threat. Or you do not have all the insurances in place, that could be a threat to your financial system. So once we figure out this thing, then uh, this first step actually creates some goals. For example, if somebody has a lot of debt, let's say, then debt payoff can become one of the topmost goals. And then in the second step, we discuss about goals. Okay, what goals are you trying to achieve in the next 5 to 7 years? I don't go beyond 5 to 7 years, like a 20-year, 30-year, because again, that gets into the retirement zone, where a retirement specialist is best suited for those goals. But typically what I've seen is in the next 5 to 7 years, people have a lot of clarity about what they are going to do, how their life is going to look like. Okay, so we do that goal planning in that second step. And then from the goals, we figure out that, okay, every month, how much are you going to save for each of the goals? Or can you even fit all the goals into your current income and expenses and whatever is left over?
And that's in
Then
like step three.
that's the step two. And then
Step two still? Okay.
yeah, and then once we figure out the amount of that you need to save every month, that automatically creates a budget. So that's where in the financial flow, that's the third step, where I
Yep.
help them set up a budget. For some people it's very easy, we just automate the transfers and say, okay, this is your macro budget. Some people, if they have a spending problem, then we may need to do a much more detailed budgeting. So I set up a budgeting software for them and help them take control of their money for the first 2 to 3 months. That way they get into the flow, they know, okay, where they need to cut down and where they can spend guilt free. And then the last step is financial growth, that okay, once we have kind of taken care of some of your goals, what more can you do in the next 2 to 3 years after you kind of graduate out of this program, right? Which is more of like education and things like that. And some people say, okay, my next step is that I want to, let's say, invest this more aggressively. So that's where I refer them to investment professionals and other professionals that they can work with. So that's really, in short, the 4 steps
Yeah. Creating
program.
the
Yeah.
foundation for that.
Right, creating the foundation. Yes.
That's awesome. So how did you create the four steps? Um,
Yeah, it's through a lot of experimentations. As I worked with clients, I figured out that okay, where the challenges are, and then kind of put those into different buckets, and then
yeah.
came up with this flow. Right.
So do you do or are a lot of your clients local to you, or are they just across the US?
They are, yeah, they are spread across the US. I've helped one or two kind of international clients also. Like one person was in Canada, he was a new immigrant in Canada. So yeah, so I'm not kind of bounded by the state boundaries or anything like that, because I'm not like advising you on investments that I have to register with the state or the SEC requirements. Yeah, I don't step into that yet.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
There's nothing wrong with that.
correct.
We've talked a handful of times about the financial stuff that you work with. I
Mhm.
remember there was one thing that you said you called it spending. Was it a
Spending plan.
spending plan, not a budget plan?
Yes. So
Go
I
go.
think budgets, yeah, budget has sometimes a misconception, because whenever people think of budgets, they say that okay, this is going to be restrictive. And it happened with one of my clients also when I discussed. She said, "Oh, budgets are. I want to budget, but then again, nobody likes to do a budgeting where they have to track their expenses every day." So, but when you flip the switch and say, okay, what we are designing is really a spending plan, right? What do you like to spend on? And let's prioritize that. And when you prioritize that, then automatically you are deprioritizing the other unwanted expenses. And that's why that 8 week program, where the in between the 2 weeks, I help them set up this budgeting system where they, whenever money comes, they put into those categories where they would really like to spend on, and that makes people happy, right? Rather than calling it a saving plan, call it a spending plan.
Right, right. That's funny. Yeah, it's interesting that little psychology tricks like that can
Yes.
actually make a pretty significant difference.
Right.
What do you see? What else helps you um, kind of explain things to your clients like that?
Yeah, so lots of analogies in things like that. Like,
Hmm.
I talked about the SWOT analysis, right? That's something
Yeah, the SWOT
is not.
analysis is pretty interesting.
Yes, so
That's
I
good.
borrowed it from the business world,
Yep.
from whatever business is, and I said, okay, this is something I can apply at the. And when you show people that this is your strength, it starts with strengths, right? So people get motivated that, okay, I have, like, somebody comes to me, let's say, with a very desperate situation, and say, okay, I know my finances are totally disorganized. I'm having trouble, kind of. Getting a handle on it, but then you show him or her that no, you have this strength in your finances. That's immediately a psychological boost in a way, right?
Yeah,
The
for
other
sure.
thing is, yeah, you, of course, we focus on the weakness also and say, okay, this is something we need to work on. Then the third thing comes up is opportunities. Like, I had one client who had a lot of money just in his checking account, and
Mm.
he did not, for he said, oh, I'm not very interested in these things. I just kind of put my money, and I don't have a lot of goals. And then once we started talking, he came up with 5 different goals that, yeah, I want to like go on a tour in Europe with my wife, right? I want to buy this nice car. And we said, okay, there are your opportunities. You have this money lying around. You are not just not using it. You are having that scarcity mindset, right?
Yeah,
And so those are the, it's kind of just a mindset flip, nothing else. I mean, it's otherwise money is like, it's just your earning, spending, and saving, right? It's nothing more complicated than that, but it's the way you see these things. The other trick that not a trick, I should not call it trick, but something that I
yeah,
came
I
up
get it.
with is called IDEA. So IDEA stands for income, debt, expenses, and assets. And this
Hmm.
is how money flows in our lives. If you see, for a W-2 person, right, he or she gets his income paycheck, then they pay the debt. Debt could be your mortgage, it could be your rent, or any other payments, the car payments. Then you spend, that's your expenses. And for a lot of people, there's only very little is left for assets, because you are not prioritizing building assets, right? So when you show them that in this idea the assets are coming at the last, but you really uh, need to have a balance of all of these things. If you have too much debt in the front end, then your back end will be suffering, that you will have very little left for assets. So having a balance in this idea is very important, right? That you should spend enough for to have a good lifestyle. You should not have too much debt that most of your income is going out in payments. And you should make sure that your assets are building up.
Yeah, yeah,
And then the
absolutely.
other flip I say is that if you look at financial freedom, it is actually this idea in reverse. That is, you have so much of assets, now your assets are generating income for you, right? That's the ultimate goal of financial freedom.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
so
yeah.
these are, I mean, little, I think the different ways of showing money to people, that helps. And that's what I also kind of get excited about, and I share in my content, or I have a blog which I write these concepts in there, and that helps me in using these concepts in my coaching as well.
Share the blog.
Sure, I will. Yeah, it's called The Log House with two dash. Yeah, I'll give you the link that we can post in the
Yeah.
in
You
the
can
video.
also put it in the
Mhm.
comments on the live video after we get off here,
Yes.
just so
Okay.
people have it.
Sure.
But what's in the link?
Sorry.
What is it?
So it's the it's called theloghouse.com.
Yep.
That's my blog site.
What
And
are the blogs about?
so the blogs about are these financial concepts. I talk about SWOT analysis. I talk about this concept of idea. I talk about setting goals. So there is another thing that I have got from the productivity circle is smart goals, right? How specific, how measurable, and that also has a financial equivalent. How you set your goals. So if you just say, okay, I want a lot of money, that's very vague, right? But you have to say that, okay, I have a goal of saving up $50,000 in the next 4 years. So when you break it down, you have a measurable portion that maybe you need to save $1,000 a month. And
It
so these
being
are concepts that
measurable.
I can, yeah.
Yeah.
So being measurable, then you have to see, is it realistic for you? Is it realistic given your other expenses? Are you able to save $1,000 or not? Right. Then what actions are you taking?
Yeah, that's awesome. Have are any of the like the acronyms that we have
Mhm.
here, are any of those common overseas?
In India, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've not heard about them, but I think yes, the content writers are now using it all over the place because I mean,
Okay.
the financial content is not tied to one country. I mean, and the good thing about financial coaching is that here we are not talking about specific investments or any country specific these things. These habits, these financial concepts are pretty much universal all over the world, right? Wherever you are living.
Right. That's awesome. And your background comes into play.
Mhm.
Your background in tech.
Yes, so that is another thing in technology. I also see a lot of things like I'm into the actually in electronic design automation, which is the semiconductor field. And in semiconductors is also, I mean, in such a small chip, we pack so much of power nowadays. There are like billions of transistors in one design, right? And so that's kind of another analogy that I used with some of my like people from my industry or clients from my industry, is that it's all about using your limited resources in the best possible to get the best possible, because as human beings we have a lot of desires, we have a lot of goals, but then
Mhm.
we have to use our money effectively. uh, it's not saying that you have limited amount of money. Of course, your income, you can earn a lot of money, but at any point in time you have a finite resource and you have to use it in the right way.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Man. So you came here in 2017.
Mhm.
And how old were you whenever you got here?
I was 43 years old.
43?
Yeah.
So most of the people that you help who are also immigrants coming here usually for the first time, how
Yeah.
old are they usually? Are they closer to your age, a little bit older, a little bit younger?
They are younger also, and some are of my age also. So it's typically the age range will be, let's say, 30 years to 45,
Yeah,
within that range. But I have also helped like younger clients also, who are like just new immigrants who have come in the early part of their careers. Some of the challenges are different for them, but yeah, I
right.
mean, they're also starting in the US financial system, right? So it's kind of
Challenges are a little bit easier
same.
for younger people, especially if they're in their late teens, early 20s. I know it's a lot scarier, but the problems are a lot
Mhm.
smaller.
Yeah.
Um, that's very, very true. That's
And then
cool.
I had a couple of clients, like I talked about, right? Somebody who had a variable income because they were a small business owner,
Hmm.
and they are really not immigrants, but the challenge is the same because they are kind of finding it difficult to get a handle on their finances. And one of the reasons I call my company Start Your Finances Right is you can start with your finances at any time. You can say, okay, this is a time I decide to take control of my finances, and I can take them through the same 4-step process where they will improve their finances from point A to point B if you go through those 4-step process. Okay? Because
Right.
the fundamentals are the same whether you are an immigrant or not.
Absolutely. So, to get someone onboarded, to get someone in
Hmm.
contact with you, how do they usually reach out to you? Is it phone, website, app?
Yeah, so in my blog website I have a landing page for my services.
Oh, nice,
And
nice.
yeah, so there is a calendar link with which they can book that 15 minutes Q&A call, or some people just contact me through the good old email info@startyourfinancesright.com.
Say that email one more time.
info@startyourfinancesright.com.
Awesome. Awesome.
Okay.
So, uh, we'll definitely make sure that that is right whenever we post that also. Man,
Sure.
so what are you planning for the future, like the next 5 to 10 years?
Mhm.
Are you gonna keep growing it for quite some time? Do you have any other ventures that you're trying to venture into?
No, my main focus is this one right now, to do more one is
Yep.
to one coaching and understand people. Okay, because one of the things is, from my background as a technology person, uh, I was very good with software and this thing. So, but this is a new thing for me, learning about people, helping people directly one is to one. Okay, so it's a
Right.
lot of learning for me as well. And then from my own experiences and my strategies that we talked about, definitely I'm helping people. And with technology immigrants especially, I've seen that a lot of them have the same questions about or same financial worries, but they don't talk to each other so well, right? That people are shy talking about their finances. So one
Right.
of the initiatives that I've started recently was, almost every other Friday I do a webinar on financial topics, on these strategies that I try to explain. I break down the US financial concepts in a very simple manner.
Where do you
And
do the webinar?
uh, I do it virtually, like on Zoom. So I
Okay.
can I have a like another landing page where people can register, and then they will get the links whenever it happens. So I'll give that link to you.
Yeah.
Anybody
Can you post that
is,
in the
yeah.
comments also whenever we're
Yes,
done here?
right.
Cool.
Yes. So anyone is welcome to join that. So
Yeah,
that is my
absolutely.
another goal, to kind of spread this financial this thing, or make it simpler for people, rather. So that is one initiative. Then, as I'm learning from this, I'm also working on a software which we call startyourmoneyright.com. So it's a planning software that's already live. The free version is already live. If you go to startyourmoneyright.com, then this is something I built for younger people. When I did a survey in 2022 about what young people, a lot of them said that our finances are simple and we don't really need to talk one is to one to a coach. But if you can build some kind of a tool where we will be able to plan our finances, do the same kind of SWOT analysis on our current financial situation, how to buy a home, what all things I should be aware of. So those are the things that I'm putting together in a software that people can access and use it. I'll provide that link as well. So these are all the different activities, but it's finally connected to the same goal of
Yeah, no,
helping people with
absolutely.
their finances, and making the financial industry simpler, that creating that foundation before people go and invest and do the bigger things in life.
Yeah, no,
Right.
that's awesome. That's a pretty good
Yeah.
vertical of items, tools, and resources that you're
Mhm.
providing. Be sure to post all those, especially
Sure.
in the comments. But man, it was awesome having you on. It was awesome
Thank
having
you.
you on
Yes.
here. What do you think?
Same here.
Six months and it'll look completely different?
Yes, I'm sure. Every day I'm growing. I'm talking to different kind of people, and also education wise, I'm growing. Like, a couple of months back, I finished a certification of being a YNAB coach. You need a budget, so I'm a certified budgeting coach. I'm now studying for one of the Series 65 exams, where just
Nice,
trying to
nice.
understand more of the different intricacies of the US financial system. So yeah, it's a continuing education for me, and serving the people as well.
Yeah, finance has
Mm.
it's a black hole of information. You never really stop learning.
Right.
Um,
Yes.
you just find out what
Mm.
you like learning,
Yes.
and
Yes.
you just learn more about that.
Correct.
Um, like people don't really understand how much information is out there and how much needs to be dissected, and there's
Correct.
so many different levels to it. You actually have a
Yes.
shout out, Steve English. Hi, King Chuck. Thank you
Mhm.
for your help with getting my finances right. So
Yes. He's.
nice little shout out. Thanks, Mr. English. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's entire Fortune 500 companies that have hundreds of people to just one division, which is the airline division, and they all they do is study the airlines, and that's it.
Mm.
I mean, it is so big. If you think one person and you're studying one thing and you think you know a bunch,
No.
just look at
Yes.
the bigger companies. They're dissecting a whole lot more information, and I'm sure they're doing it a
Yes.
lot faster than we are. So,
Yes.
you just always gotta try to stay ahead as much as you can
Yes.
because um, there's always something different out there. There's
Right.
always
Yeah,
something
and the
different.
world is evolving with new kinds of challenges and this thing, right? Even when COVID happened, I mean, it was a health crisis, but it was also a financial crisis for so many people, because their jobs and things, their life completely changed because of COVID for a lot of people. So
Yeah,
it also had a lot of financial impact. So So yeah, the world is also evolving, changing all the time, and that makes finance very interesting, just like technology. Yes.
I was going to ask one more thing. Do you think
Sure.
AI is going
Mhm.
to help or hurt individual consumers with their finances?
I think, as per yes, I have been kind of like brooding over this thought, and I think it is going to help people. Like for example, Chat GPT, you can now learn very quickly about some things, right? Like okay, what is a good budgeting habit and those things. But at the same time, you have to be very careful of kind of relying on that advice, right? Because AI is nothing but it is generating the next set of tokens, and it is collecting from different this thing.
Yeah.
So some of the financial nuances, or the nuances of financial decisions, are not so easy for AI to generate right now. And in fact, recently I was reading in a journal of Financial Planning Association. So I'm also a member of Financial Planning Association of Austin, and yeah, and they publish a journal. So there was a research done on this, that can AI replace financial advisors, and there were few case studies where they actually played with models and gave it different financial situations. And yeah, although some of the results were encouraging, but it's not there yet. So it
Yeah,
remains to be seen in the future. Yeah.
I'm on the same page. I
Yeah.
definitely don't think AI is there. AI is not even
Yeah.
close
Yeah.
to replacing financial advisors.
Yes.
Um, there's just way too much incorrect stuff that you'll see,
Correct.
even if you run it through the free version of ChatGPT and you're trying to run like a
Mm.
technical analysis. If it doesn't get numbers right, it's not going to get language right
Correct. Yes.
because with AI, language is the numbers. So
Mm.
if it can't do
Yeah.
math, it definitely won't be able to do any kind
Yeah.
of language.
Yes.
So um, it's
Yeah, actually,
I
for my free site, that Start Your Money Right, I was trying to do some experiments on that, and didn't get very good results yet. So
Yeah, same.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you can even run what's I
Mm.
do a lot of research with AI just
Mhm.
because it can be a whole lot faster. And kind of give an example, I would go to Perplexity AI and I would say what were the closing numbers from last week, or what were the uh, top 5 markets, and what did they open and close at last week? What was the high? What was the low? And
Right.
it will return incorrect data, even though that data is very black and white. It's out
Correct.
there. It
Mm.
probably multiple sources are reporting the
Yeah.
same data, but for whatever reason, the AI isn't returning the data.
Yes.
So it's not something that I would rely on
Yeah.
necessarily, but it's uh, it's definitely out there and it's improving. I'll say that much, but
Hmm.
it's nowhere near perfect. I would say autonomous driving will get there before financial advisors get
Financial
replaced
advice can
with
by
AI.
AI. That is true.
Um,
Yes.
autonomous driving is pretty good. It's not bad.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever been in it, been around it.
Yes, it is pretty
It's come a whole lot further than
right.
AI doing math problems.
Yes, that is
But
true.
man, it was good chatting with you.
Yes,
I
same here.
probably want to
I
bring
really
you back
enjoyed it.
in
Uh-huh.
6, 7, 8, 9 months, something like that, and
Sure.
see how everything's going. I think it'll be cool, man.
Yeah.
But it was good chatting with you down in Austin too for a little bit. Whenever
Yes,
I came
we
down
did
there,
catch up.
but I'll let you know when I come down here soon. You want to give another shout out, business name, email, website, all that stuff, real quick?
Yes, so my business name is startyourfinancesright.com, and the blog site is called theloghouse.com with the log house.com, and my email is info@startyourfinancesright.com, and we'll put all of these in the chat. So that I also have a YouTube channel, so I'll put the link of that as well.
Nice.
So,
And there's a lot of free resources that you're gonna put in the chat
right,
as well
yes.
that will help a lot of
Yeah.
people.
And then the regular webinar that happens, webinars and master classes that I'm doing. So if anyone is
Nice.
interested in those
Yep.
concepts, please, yeah, you're welcome to join that.
Link
Yes.
that for sure. Link that
Sure.
for sure. Awesome.
Okay.
King Chuck, it was a pleasure to finally have you on here. Thanks for rolling with the
Yeah.
punches the last
It
couple
was
of
my,
weeks, but we'll have you on
no problem.
in
Yes.
about a year, man. in about
Sure.
a year,
Yeah.
but we'll talk before then. Don't worry. We'll
Sure. Yeah.
chat.
We'll keep in touch. Yes. Thank you, Rance. It
Yeah,
was really
yeah,
good.
no,
Yeah. I really
absolutely.
enjoyed the session. Thank you.
Pleasure. Pleasure as
All
always,
right.
man. I'll talk with you later.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Sure.
everybody.
Bye. Bye.